me a heart. Tell me where you're from, just so I can see that you're there. And we'll start the discourse. Thank you. A sign of life. I'm glad. Okay. Hello, Delaware, the Netherlands, Tel Aviv. Okay. My name is Yossi Ghinsberg. I was born in Tel Aviv. And I grew up in Israel. But as a child, I always dreamt of the world. And I read so many adventure books, and I decided that when I grow up, I'm going to be a world explorer. At the age of 18, I met the first culture that wasn't my own culture. This was when I was positioned in the Sinai Desert for 3 years as part of the mandatory military service. And the Sinai Desert at the time was very raw and was populated only by Bedouin tribes. And I was so attracted and fascinated that instead of taking vacation and going back north to visit my family, I stayed in the desert and I started befriending the Bedouins. So I dressed like them with long jalabas, white jalabas, and I learned how to put the headdress on my head, the turban, and I learned the language, the Arabic, the Bedouin, the desert Arabic, and their customs. This was very deep for me because, any culture grows up with its own traditions and, we're being formed in a way. I believe, that when we're born, we're actually free of cultural or national identity. So those all things, I know that, I have 4 kids. I've seen these souls coming into the world, and I know we come from somewhere because I've seen my kids and they were all born with a character from day one and with an attitude and with wisdom. So I have no doubt that we come from somewhere. However, our cultural and national identity are things that we learn. And as good as it is to have a tradition and a nationality, we have to remember that we came as a clean slate. And this is actually something that we not inherited, but actually was taught. And when we identify so much with our cultural or national identity, are we really free? Imagine that, for example, here in Israel, there's like a conflict between the Palestinian and the Israelis, or you can say the Jews and the Muslims. I always ask myself this question, just in case the 2 babies were switched or swapped by mistake at the hospital. So a Palestinian baby would be taken by a Jewish family, Israeli family, and the Jewish baby will be taken by a Palestinian Muslim family. What will happen? Being born a Jew to Jewish parents in Israel, if you're swapped at birth and taken by a Palestinian family, you'll grow to be a Muslim, and your tradition and your creed and your beliefs wouldn't be the ones that you were born to, but the ones that you've learned. So meeting a culture outside my own culture was very forming for me because the Bedouins were very, very different from the Israelis. And I merged into the Bedouin culture and became a Bedouin. I ate like them, I spoke like them. If I would walk, they wouldn't tell the difference. If I would walk away, only when would they see my face naturally and the complexion, etc., they would notice. But I became a Bedouin. Since then, I lived in maybe 20 different cultures, and I became one with the culture in every culture all over the world. And each culture left an impression on me. And I did it deliberately. I did it to break my own culture. I did it to break free from my own nationality. It's not easy to break from a nationality, especially not from an Israeli nationality, because you grow under pressure. It's a country in conflict. Your country needs you. Your nation needs you. Your nation is in a war. Cannot go away. Stay here with us because your country and your nation need you. It's a strong conditioning, but I broke free. I broke free because I insisted to be an earthling. I insisted on that. And it took time to chisel away the conditioning. My identity is earthling. Once I have an identity as an earthling, I don't have any problem going back to my own culture, to my traditions, and own them. But the order is important. First of all, I'm an earthling. We are all earthlings, but we don't carry this identity. Most of us carry our cultural or national identity before our true identity. We were born on a planet. This planet is our home. We are cosmic creatures, aren't we? Living on the surface of a beautiful blue planet in a magical galaxy floating in an infinite universe. Why would you settle for a smaller identity? So, my journey is something that I'm sharing with other people because I paid my dues for 40 years. Since I left my own country, I traveled the world to learn and to explore the outer and the inner. And for the last 20 years, I've been sharing it because I think there's merit in storytellers. It's something that all cultures respect. The storyteller, the troubadour, the bard. I tell stories about my life, but those stories, they carry some insights that are maybe relevant to other people's life. My journey started once I finished my military service. I would just mention that the Bedouin left me with some deep, deep gifts. You know, one gift that is very symbolic to me is that the Bedouins, the nomads, they're tent dwellers. I became a tent dweller. I live in a tent. I've been living in tent for decades. And wherever I go in the world, wherever I have a home, I sleep outside. I sleep outside in the garden where I build my tent, or I build my tent on the roof, but I don't sleep in the house. I sleep outside. So that's something I inherited from the Bedouins, but there's something very beautiful about tent dwelling. Because a tent is a sign of the nomad, is the symbol of the nomad. Being a nomad, you don't pour concrete and build walls of bricks. You just set up a lean-to or you open a tent. So for me, a tent is that symbol of being a nomad, of being transient, of being a traveling soul, of being an earthling, because an earthling is aware of how fragile our mother planet is and careful to leave very gentle footprints. And all that is embedded in the tent. Moreover, there's romance as well. Life is boring without romance, without a sense of adventure, and also the deep relationship with nature, not separated from nature by wall, not trying to build ourselves cities to forget that we're an animal. No, living in a tent means living with the elements, with the winds, with the rains, with the earth, with the fire pit outside the tent. So that's one thing I received from the Bedouins, and I'll be forever grateful. The other gift of the Bedouins is generosity. And the greatest generosity is the generosity of time. The Bedouins, they'll give you their time. You know, you can get many things from people, many different gifts. And of course, we appreciate each person and their gift. And it's our duty, because we're all gifted. And the meaning of being gifted is that we are sharing our gifts with others. So we all give gifts. But the most precious gift that we can give is our time, because that's the only real thing in that dimension. That's the real currency, is time. It's the most precious thing. Once I left Israel, I was 21 years old, and I set up to explore the world. My first destination was the Amazon rainforest. In the Amazon, I was a very ambitious young man. I wanted to get deep into the uncharted. And my intention was to find a tribe that never seen culture before. I'll be actually the first to penetrate from culture into this tribe, and this tribe will take me in and make me one of them. I'll become a warrior. I'll become a hunter. And then I'll fall in love with the daughter of the chief and marry her. So, you know, never underestimate the power of a naive dreamer. Dreams are very important, because dreams, there's two types of them. One dream is escapism. We dream to escape reality. We live in the shallow waters of the comfort zone. And our way to escape that place is dreams that will never be materialized. That's called escapism. But there's another type of dream, the dream that creates the world. Because the world is not created unless you dream it first. So, naive can achieve much more than any professional, than any scholar, than any person that with lots of experience. Why? Because the more experience, education you have, the more you know what's impossible. The more naive you are, untamed, then your imagination can fly free. And you, being so naive with no experience, you don't know what's impossible. And that's the difference. If you know it's impossible, then it's impossible. But if you don't know it's impossible, then it's not impossible. I did find my tribe. It took a year of scanning all the rainforest, all the jungles, from Venezuela down to Colombia, to Ecuador, to Peru, but finally in Bolivia, I met my greatest adventure. An adventure that left a mark and a dent in my life. Deep in the uncharted Amazon of Bolivia, in a part of the world that is called the Madidi, which is the densest biomass on planet Earth, which means more life to a square inch than any other place on planet Earth, the densest place on Earth. There in the Madidi, in a track towards a mysterious tribe, I lost my friends, 3 of my friends, and found myself alone and bare to the bone in the midst of a rainy season, in the uncharted Amazon, without knife, without a gun, without a machete, naturally the most important tool in the jungle, never go into a jungle without a machete. I lost everything, and I had to survive on my own. And I learned so much about survival. I survived. I lived for 2 months in the jungle, 3 weeks on my own, and my life was saved. But after my life was saved, I made this jungle my home. The place that almost claimed my life became my home. I stayed and lived there for 3 years with the tribe that was involved in saving my life, the Uchupiamona. And I did become one of the Uchupiamona. Today I'm an Uchupiamona. I'm the ambassador of the Uchupiamona people in the world. The Uchupiamona people call themselves the Uchupiamona nation, but they have only 850 people in this nation. So that nationality I'm willing to bear. So if I have to choose a nationality, my nationality will be an Uchupiamona. The Uchupiamona live in the forest. Their tradition goes back thousands of years, but they only remember 400 years in oral stories about their tradition. They're true Amazonians. I lived with them and I learned a lot from their shamans, from their elders, from their youth, and more than anything, I learned from the nature itself, from the mighty Amazon. And what I learned is actually counterintuitive, because we have an expression that says it's a jungle out there, or another expression, don't just survive, thrive. Actually, I challenge this expression and their meaning. When you say it's a jungle out there, it means like it's very, very dangerous in the jungle. It's a jungle out there. Sharp teeth, claws, your other, you kill or you get killed. That's not the reality. Actually, it's very far from being the reality. What makes the jungle what it is actually codependency, symbiosis, and synergies. Okay? In the jungle, the species depend on each other to stay alive. Hence, it's not what we think about survival. Actually, so far from that. Life is weaved. All species are one family, including us. We refuse to accept it, that we're just another species, that we're just another animal. Yes, we are very intelligent. Not intelligent enough, considering the situation of our home planet. We're not that intelligent, but we consider ourselves very intelligent. But that intelligence makes us think that we are separate from the natural world. We're not separate from the natural world. If we would own it, we wouldn't be able to destroy the natural world, because we'll understand we are part of it. It's only that concept that we are somehow the crown of creation and we are above all other species, and that we were created in some mysterious way by God that created us in their image and their liking, which means we're not animals, we are actually demigods. It's a dangerous thought. I know it's a biblical thought. Sorry. I challenge that thought as well. We are not demigods. We do have qualities that are amazing. We can create, but we shouldn't abuse that quality. First of all, if you want to be a human, be a beast first. Take the qualities of the beast and then rise above them. A beast has no enemies, no vigilance. A beast wouldn't take more than it needs. There's no greed. There's no animosity. There's no... I can talk a lot about the virtue of the beast. It's important that we take the qualities of animals that innately understand that we are one big family. What a family means is We are interrelated, we are interconnected, and we are interdependent. If we just remember that, we are all relations. You look at the coronavirus, you know, how would a bat in some cave in China will be able to inflict a disease on humanity? Because we are related. It's just a guess, I don't know, but I would assume that in terms of the genetics of a bat, it will be something like 90% the same of a human being. You know why I'm saying that? Because a human being and a banana share 50% of their genes, okay? Let alone a bat. A chimpanzee and a human being share 99% of their genes. So the hubris of humanity, once the human genome was deciphered, was a bit bashed. Okay. Now I want to tell you about survival, because I know survival probably more than most people on this planet. I'm considered an expert in survival, but my views are very different on survival. So there's survival as we understand it. When you say this expression, don't just survive, thrive. So it means that survival is, what does it mean? That you don't really thrive, you just fight to stay alive. What a sad situation it is. Are we all the time fighting just to keep the head above the water? Survival, as I define it, survival is peak performance. That's it. In a situation of survival, you're the best that you could ever be. Survival is hence a positive thing, isn't it? All of us want to be in peak performance. Every company wants their teams, their management, their employees to be in peak performance. Every athlete wants to be in peak performance. What we want is peak performance. Survival equals peak performance. So we should look at survival as a very good thing, because survival is a peak performance. That's a fact. In circumstances of real survival, we are the organism, I should say, because it doesn't really, we don't need to study survival to be in that peak performance. We don't need to train for it. We don't need a course with Bear Grizzly or the famous survivor. No, we know how to survive. Actually, we know too well how to survive. At the cost of so many species, our survival is actually a disease to this planet. So we shouldn't worry about survival, because we are all expert in survival. In a real situation of survival, we know what to do. All our mechanisms, all the different faculties, the mental faculty is sharp as ice, taking the right and the most efficient decision in a split second. Our physical power is of a superhero in a real survival situation. Our emotions are fully balanced, and our spirit is rising, and our faith is solid, strong. Okay. However, there's another type of survival, and that's much more worrisome. That survival is fake, is not real survival. The fake survival means, actually, we are not in danger. Nobody is chasing us. There's no animal here that is coming to attack us. We don't need to fight, and we don't need to flight, but we do freeze, because that survival mode is actually activated by anxiety, by worries, and that anxiety sends a message to the organism: danger, survival. But actually, there is no danger. There is no survival circumstances. Hence, we are not in peak performance. That type of survival is actually very, very dangerous because it kills us. Stress and anxiety is actually the infrastructure for disease, for all disease. So it depends on our inclinations, depends on our lifestyles, it depends on circumstances or on our genetic. Disease will burst. But the reason is not our genetic, is not our lifestyle, and not the circumstances. It's actually the anxiety and stress. So we need to differentiate between real survival and fake survival and understand that fake survival is the real problem. And how we deal with that? Well, we need to build resilience and we need to learn how to be masters of dealing with reality. And that's something that I've dedicated my life with. As far as I'm concerned, resilience is happiness. Because if you think about what is happiness, actually what is happiness? Happiness is so important. What do we want in life? We want to be happy. Actually, that's our highest aspiration. We want to be happy. It's such a great and important aspiration that it's embedded in the American Constitution. Every person has the right to pursue happiness. This is part of the Constitution, and that's exactly the problem. The problem of happiness is that it's an illusion. It's not real. It doesn't exist. Even the Constitution states that you have the right to pursue happiness. If you're happy, you don't need to pursue happiness, is it? If you're happy, you're happy. But happiness is something of the future. We need to pursue it. We have the right to pursue happiness, because what does happiness mean? Happiness means, in general terms, cross-culturally, it means the following. My problems will disappear. The sun will be shining on me, and I'll get what I want, and what I don't want will not bother me. Well, as I said, illusion. That situation doesn't exist. You know, sometimes it's misfortune, maybe, but you know, like persons that I know, or a father or a mother of a person dies, and I'm going to the cemetery, and I see the endless field of graves, and I look at the graves, and I think these people, they don't have any problem. Only the dead don't have problem. The definition of life is problems. You know, you're alive, you have problems. Okay, so that idea of happiness, where there's no more stress, adversities, there's no more obstacles, you get what you want, that's not the right definition of happiness. Life is problems. Okay, so what is the definition, as far as I'm concerned, of happiness? I say, don't define it. I think we should pursue happiness instead of happiness. Just turn the I into a E and pursue happiness, which means be present in this very moment, because there is nothing but this very moment. Accept this moment and learn to live with this moment, no matter what this moment brings. Sometimes it will bring adversity. Sometimes it will be sorrow and grief. And many times it will be joy and laughter. Accept this moment, embrace it, and learn how to fully be present in that moment. That is happiness. Happiness is happiness. So, resilience for me is happiness. And how do you achieve that resilience? There's a journey, And I'm offering this journey. I call it TheAdventure. And it has stages. The adventure has stages. But the first stage is from survival to resilience. That's the basis. Because if you're not resilient, you have the tendency to think that life is not fair, that you weren't dealt the proper hand, that you're unlucky, or you start developing bitterness, belligerence, and in general, you either blame or feel guilt or feel confused because you don't know who to blame. Because guilt is just blame, that you blame yourself instead of other. And you develop maybe conspiracy theories that it's their fault. Whoever's there, it doesn't really matter. The moment you blame another, you took the power from yourself. Now you're not responsible. Somebody else is responsible for your problems. And if you're responsible for your problems, that's terrible guilt. Responsibility is actually, we have to actually look at the world. The responsibility is our ability to respond. In order to be able to respond, you have to take one step out of the picture. And that's where resilience awaits. When you take one step out of the picture, you're not part of the picture anymore. When you're not part of the picture, you're suddenly not a victim anymore. Now it's like watching a movie. The moment you're only inside the movie, there's not much space for you to act. You're actually only reacting. A good actor is acting, not reacting. Gets the order from the director. And I invite you to sit on the director's seat. It's a good seat. In order to do that, you have to step out of the movie. Most of us never do that. So we have a life of over-attachment to the stories and never the distance to actually understand that one of our greatest gifts is our ability to step out of the picture and develop another point of view, the point of view of the witness. That's the basic quality that we train, the quality of the witness. A witness is like a place of rest. A witness is a sanctuary. The witness has respite and solace. It's not constantly grinding the stories after stories, the problems after problems, the issues. You take a step out and you sit on the chair of the director and you watch the movie and you watch the scene, and those are raw materials for you to create life with. It's a totally different story when you're not attached to everything. And we shouldn't be attached, because what we truly are is traveling souls. The soul seat is the seat of the witness. So the first stage in the adventure is to create an intimate relationship with the witness and to train ourselves to sit on that seat. And it's such a sweet feeling to be there. There's a rest, it's actually home. You cannot get there without a lot of practice, a lot of awareness, a lot of discipline. It's not an idea that you say, aha, I got it, okay, I'm gonna sit on the chair of the witness. No. There's a journey to get there, and there's practice to be able to switch from the attached action heroes that you are in the life with all the drama and melodrama that we constantly create, no matter where we are, no matter who we are. Our life is a Mexican soap opera, usually. Too much drama, too much melodrama. Step out and start making choices, director choices. Have your director cut on your own life. That's the first stage, and at that opportunity, I'd like to actually put my glasses on and to see if there's anything that I want to relate to you. Okay, thank you for your comments. The second stage is, you see, that, prosperity is the second stage. Living in the Amazon, I lived in the Amazon for 3 years. Actually, it's the densest place on the planet. We have issue with that because we think that the planet is overpopulated, and we think that because the planet is overpopulated, there's a problem of resources. In other words, there's not enough for everybody because the population is growing exponentially, while the resources, they're finite. They don't grow. Population grows, resources don't grow. There's one point, the population will exceed its own resources. But the Amazon is the busiest, densest place on the planet. There's more population in the Amazon than, I think it's ridiculous. I think like 50% of all species, they live in the Amazon, something like that, which is only about 3-4% of planet Earth, painfully diminishing as well. So painful to see the Amazon shrinking. However, there's no lack in the Amazon. The idea of population exhausting resources is bogus. That's not true. We are not exhausting our resources. There are enough resources for all of us. The idea of scarcity is an idea that it's thought by economists and scholars and politicians, permeates into the consciousness of the population of humanity. Humanity believes in scarcity, and that's very dangerous. There is no scarcity, but we experience scarcity because we believe in scarcity. Now, scarcity is an idea, is a belief, and that's something that we need to understand very, very deeply. Belief is what creates the world. So when we believe in something, then the world becomes as our belief. Hence, the expression seeing is believing, the expression seeing is believing is the wrong expression. It should be believing is seeing. It's not seeing is believing. You see, then you believe. No, you believe, then you see the fruits of your belief. So that's the fruit of our belief. We believe in scarcity, and scarcity is the worst, most dangerous idea. And the wrong paradigm and the wrong belief, and the consequences are colossal. When we are not thriving, when we're not in prosperity, when we are in scarcity, which is the condition of humanity, as I said, humanity believes in scarcity, humanity lives in scarcity. Scarcity is very dangerous because all the ills of the world are actually the consequence of scarcity. So even if we talk about overpopulation, which I don't think is actually, this planet is not overpopulated. This planet is mismanaged, but not overpopulation. But many things that overpopulation is one of the biggest problems, and it's became relevant now in these times of pandemic. Why is the planet overpopulated? For one reason, scarcity. It's only poor people that actually give birth to a lot of kids for two reasons. One, cheap employees, And two, life insurance. These are the reasons why the world is overpopulated. Poor family makes a lot of kids, so they have help in the field from their kids. And when they grow old, that's their actually plan. Their kids will take care of them. So the idea of scarcity is responsible for the problem of overpopulation. But look at any other problem. All the problems, like terror, like crime, and the destruction of this planet, they're all results of poverty, which is the result of the idea of scarcity, that we don't have enough. Aggression and war is the fruit of scarcity. Competition is the fruit of scarcity. What is competition? Well, competition actually is a noble thing, but not the way we practice it. We practice competition based on scarcity. That means that if there is not enough for me and you, I have to kill you. I have to kill you. Isn't it so sad, this idea? But I have no choice. I have a family. I know you have a family, but there's not enough to feed our both families. I have to hurt you because I have to take care of. It's so violent, the thought of scarcity. And it's wrong. There is no scarcity. We live in an abundant planet. There's nothing lacking. Actually, we didn't even touch the tip of the abundance of this planet. There's great exploration ahead of us. New markets. There's plenty. AI with all the technology and the abundance that we can draw. There's injustice, and there's misconception, but there's no scarcity. So that's the second part of the journey, is to burst that wrong idea of scarcity. We need to rise above scarcity, and only then, as humanity, and I want to say, as a human being, we can do each one, deliverance can come to the individual anytime, any place. It's up to the individual. But some things are about all of us. And all of us is important. It's like getting on a plane, It doesn't, before all the passengers are on, it doesn't take off. So there's a lot to say about saving oneself, but the plane doesn't take off. It's about all of us. You have to remember that. So even if we delivered ourselves, then we become bodhisattvas. Then we stay because the plane doesn't take off. But at least we can help others to get on the plane. So that's as to say about deliverance on a personal level. It's still that it's not enough, but it helps. It helps the rest. We have to remember. And actually that leads me to purpose. Purpose is, well, I'm not going to put myself in a position that I know what purpose is, but I say the meaning of life is meaning. Okay? That's the meaning of life. Meaning. And most people find meaning and purpose when they do something that exceeds their own. When you do something that is bigger than you, then we can feel a sense of purpose, then we can feel a sense of meaning. But in order to get that, we have to develop two things. One, resilience. Second, prosperity. Third, self-fulfillment, meaning and purpose. Those are the 3 steps in the adventure that I offer only to the brave to go deep and develop those qualities and virtues. With your permission, I'm going to put my glasses again and check you out. Sorry. So I think it's about the end of my session, and I would appreciate a couple of questions before I wrap it up. Well, I have a question here, and it's a very sad and deep question, and I'll read it for you. Dear Yossi, my dearest loving son of 18 years, Delane, died. I'm shattered. He's still my son. How could I ever step out of this? I don't wish to detach myself from my son. First of all, my heart with you. You know, pain is part of life. We cannot avoid pain. Actually, trying to avoid pain just makes suffering. The difference between pain and suffering is that pain is pain. Suffering is not accepting that pain. Okay. So first of all, when pain comes to us, by all means, we should host it. But don't make it too comfortable for the pain. Be respectful to pain, but don't make it too comfortable. Don't make it indulgence. Life is sacred. I'm not in a position to say anything about two mothers that lost their child beside compassion. But I can tell a story, and maybe there's some solace in this story. 2,500 years ago, in the time of the Buddha, the story goes that there was a woman that lost her child. The child was just a baby, and the baby died. And the mother held the baby and refused to acknowledge. She refused to acknowledge that the baby is dead. And she kept the baby wrapped in a rag and going along with a baby that is dead. And people felt so much sorrow and so much compassion. And they tried to tell her, you should bury the baby because he's dead. But she refused. She said, no, my baby is not dead. He's going to wake up. He's going to wake up, I know. He's not dead. He's going to wake up. Naturally, she was losing her mind. And then somebody approached her and said, look, like not far from here, down by the river at the deer park, the Buddha and his monks, they're resting, they're camping there. So, and the Buddha, you heard about the Buddha is the enlightened one. Actually, the Buddha has powers. If there's anybody on this planet that can wake up your baby, it's the Buddha. So go talk to the Buddha, and she did. So she approached the Buddha by the river, and she came to the Buddha holding her dead baby and saying, wake my baby up. I was told that you have the power and you can wake my baby up. And the Buddha looked at her and looked at the dead baby and said, yeah, I actually can. I can wake your baby back to life. But in order to do this magic, I need a couple of things. So, I'm going to do this rite and ritual. And so you see that city you came from, go back to the city. I need only one grain of rice, only one grain of rice to do my magic and restore the life of your baby. So bring me a grain of rice from a house that knew no grief and no mourning and no sorrow. She rushed over to the town and she started knocking on the door. The end of the story that she understood. She came back without even one grain of rice. And the story is she became enlightened herself. Thank you for having me. With full respect, I really appreciate my time with you. I'm happy to stay in touch with you. Anyone that will be interested, my details are on this beautiful, enlightened platform. Thank you so much for having me.